Nancy Bassett, got it. Okay, what is her name? Got 30? All right. Would you send Dr. Jones to the emergency room, please? We're trying to stand over here in the way, so we really won't have to put this down.
Swallow for me.
Yes, we would very much, Judy, like to get out of the fashion business. I think the courts have made it quite clear in recent months that dress and hairstyle is the responsibility of the home and the students, and not the responsibility of the schools. It appears now as though the local committees, made up of parents, teachers, and students, will take into consideration the experiences that we've had the last couple of years, the court cases, as well as the customs and mores of the local communities in formulating the code for next year.
Only about 8% of Tarrant County's registered voters, or about 17,000 people, turned out for the $8,600,000 bond election. The only issue approved was $1,900,000 for expansion of the county jail and improvements in the criminal courts building. Jail space will be expanded from a prisoner capacity of 411 to 900. Improvements in the building will allow the district attorney's offices to finally be under one roof. The voters turned thumbs down to Propositions 2, 3, and 4. They involved $5 million for a new county records and office building, $1.5 million for improvements in the 3/4-of-a-century-old courthouse, and $200,000 for 2 new sub-courthouses. County Commissioner Precinct 1 Dick Anderson said the failure of 3 of the issues was the result of a poor selling job. County Judge Howard Green blamed the outcome partially on the election being held on a Saturday, which has always had a poor record of voter turnout. He said he hopes the Texas legislature will pass a bill which will require all elections in the state to be held on Tuesdays, just as the general elections. The failure of the county bonds to pass may cause city officials to take a hard look at other bond issues being considered. A bond election for a new library, for instance. Economic conditions will probably have to improve if any bond issues are to have any chance of passing. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Yes, sir. Yes, there's always a nurse on duty. Calls always come into the nurse's station, and the nurse is on duty 24 hours. There's no charge to the public. Anybody is able to call.
They destroy the image, I think, of our business and of our industry more than anything else. I don't think they take that much business away from us as far as dollars, but I think they destroy the image of our industry more than anything else.
What can your organization do about it?
Well, there's not a whole lot that we can do. We are doing some things, such as asking for some state legislation that would control the people that have license and people that do business in our particular industry.
In other words, anybody who says he's an exterminator can be one for all practical purposes.
Right. You can be one for a day or 2 weeks and never have had any experience at all before.
Does this hurt the people? Is there a chance of death or great injury because of this?
Most definitely, any kind of insecticides that you use can be hazardous around the home or even a business place. And most of the time, your people that buy from fly-by-nighters are elderly people or something of this nature, and this does more damage to them in the way of taking monies from them.
They normally are aged people. Normally, in most cases, they're above the age of 60 up into their 80s and even 90s. They approached soliciting business to check for termites at no cost to the complainant, and eventually the bill is several times what it's supposed to be at the origination of the contract.
What is the biggest case you've ever worked on?
The largest one I worked on was several years ago, was $21,000 from an 89-year-old female who lived alone in a period of approximately 30 days from my memory.
What can individuals do to protect themselves from these people?
We would suggest that they notify their sons or daughters if they live in the area, check them out with the Better Business Bureau, because the majority of the people that are illegal do not even have a phone, or if they do have, they will not give it to the complainant. And if anyone is leery of giving a phone number as to where their company is located, then immediately notify us or the Better Business Bureau and check to see if they are a legitimate company.
Bring her right on out, and we'll meet you at the back door at the emergency room. Bye-bye.
Are you in effect admitting that you made a mistake in making such a fuss over the dress and hair earlier?
Not at all. You see, the board's policy is quite clear. Any kind of dress or hairstyle that's disruptive, that interferes with the learning process, that creates a maintenance problem, or is a hazard to health and safety is clearly prohibited. Now, as customs and styles change, so do the codes in local schools need to change. What might have been disruptive a year or 2 years ago might not be considered to be disruptive now.
So boys will be allowed to have shoulder-length hair if they wish, and girls can wear maxi dresses?
No, not at all. This is not what that means. The local committee made up of parents, teachers, and students will continue to determine what the local code will be within the policies, of course, established by the Board of Education.
What is the most common call you get at the Poison Center?
I think the most common call is that cases of children having taken medication which have been up in the medicine cabinet. And probably the most common one product is aspirin, children's aspirin. The parents, in order to have their children take medicine many times, tell them it tastes like candy and things of this nature, and so as a result, the children associate medicine sometimes with candy, and so children's aspirins are pretty well flavored, and they like those, so they chew children's aspirin much more readily.
What is about the age group that comes in?
Most of our cases, well over 50% of them. We have one survey of our cases that came in from January to June of 1970, in which there were nearly 500 cases of poisoning of one type or another, whether it was accidental or intentional. And over around 55 to 60% of our cases were in children under 5 years of age.
In the 9 years that I've been in the legislature, I'm convinced that the stock scandal is the one issue that has demolished the image of the legislature. The people of this state have already tried and convicted every member of the legislature. It's not enough for us to take action. We must take firm, decisive action. The people of this state are convinced that Tom Bass and just about every other elected official in this Capitol building is guilty of financial double dealing.
Come here, Angel. Come here. Come here. What?
Okay.
With the failure of the three issues, one Tarrant County Commissioner is looking hard today at this parking lot located on the north side of the Criminal Courts building and owned by the county. It's currently being used to park county cars. Commissioner Jerry Meebus told me today he is exploring the possibility of using revenue bonds to build a multi-story parking lot here and using the money to make necessary renovations on the county complex buildings. Meebus said he is also exploring other ideas to eliminate what he called the major problem, that being space in the buildings.
Our real big need right now is space, and in order to compensate for that, I would propose that we insist on legislature that might bring about microfilming of certain records. By this means, we could transpose the original document to a warehouse and keep those under lock and key, and still we would have our record right here in the courthouse on microfilm.
Commissioner Meebus also said he felt the vetoed subcourt houses could be built at a later date with county funds. Well, nothing is definite yet. It's all still in the exploratory stage. But in Meebus' words, something has to be done, and I'm open to suggestions. Cherry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Six and a half years ago, Mary Freeman wasn't able to play in her backyard. She wasn't able to walk to school. In fact, her life was in danger. Today, thanks to a successful kidney transplant and the help of her twin sister, Nancy, Mary can do just about anything she wants. The operation saved her life. It was the first kidney transplant by a team of surgeons at Parkland Hospital, and in November of 1964, 5 days after the transplant, Mary and Nancy were congratulated for their courage and success by Channel 8's then Mr. Peppermint. Nancy and Mary are now juniors at Western Hills High School in West Fort Worth. Most of their classmates don't realize the role in medical history that the Freeman twins have played. That's because the operation was such a complete success. At their home, Mary and Nancy told of how the transplant has affected their lives.
It's changed a lot. I can do a lot of things I couldn't before the surgery, like I can walk to school. Before, I was always tired, and I'm more active. I can do a lot of other things, more sports and everything.
Nancy, has life changed for you any since the transplant?
Oh, not a whole lot, except that for the most part I have to keep my weight down for doctor's orders and reasons because of one kidney only, and that has a lot to do with it.
Mary, how you feel about your sister giving up one of her kidneys?
I'm glad she did. I don't remember, really what they asked her or what they asked me. But they asked her if she would give up her kidney, give it to her sister, and I really can't remember what they asked me.
How do you answer people who are curious about your transplant operation?
Well, the thing that usually comes up is when I wear a sleeveless dress at school, they ask me what skin graft was, and then that leads into the transplant. And for the transplant, I tell them that my sister gave me her kidney so that I could live. And they ask, "You mean you have one kidney?" I say, "No, I have three." And they say, "How do you have three?" And I tell them, "Well, I have my two original ones that I was born with, but that I had to get Nancy's so hers would help my other two function."
Nancy, are you proud that you were able to save your sister's life?
Yes, I am now. At first, I didn't realize really what I was doing or what was going to become of me or her. I knew that I was giving her my kidney, and that if I didn't, that she wouldn't live, and so that does make me proud.
Mary and Nancy are already making plans for college. About their lives, Nancy says she is proud she could help her sister. Mary says she is very thankful. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Well, I was awakened about 2 o'clock by the noises on the intercom, which we had set up for burglar alarm. And while I was dressing quickly, my wife called the police, and I came down to meet the police and saw part of a man's leg in there in the gloom, and finally identified it as being a man's leg, and was just stepping back to call on him to surrender when he fired a shot through the window at me. And I started to return the fire, and he shot one more time, and at his second shot the flame started. Apparently he shot threw a can of rifle powder that was sitting on the shelf right by the window, and the muzzle blast or a flash from his pistol set off the powder. And about this time, man came tumbling out through the glass window, and he was smoldering and on fire, and he thrashed around a while.
The air must be cleared once and for all. The publicity surrounding the current SEC activities must be fully explored. I want the members of this House and the people of Texas to know the facts.
So we're not here to condemn or to promote abortion. We're here to face a reality and to decide on the best legislative solution to this reality of criminal abortion. Furthermore, there is urgency about this legislation that many people do not recognize. Last spring, the Federal District Court in Dallas declared the Texas anti-abortion laws to be unconstitutional. The court held that the present laws deprive single women and married persons of the opportunity to choose whether to have children. If this decision is sustained by the United States Supreme Court, abortion will be totally unregulated in the state of Texas.
These smoky ruins are the remains of the Jess Stockstill shooter supply of Grapevine. The loss is high from last night's tragic drama. One man perished in these flames, another is in John Peter Smith Hospital in Fort Worth under heavy police security. He's suffering from severe burns and gunshot wounds. Doctors say he may lose one of his arms. A third man was transferred from Grapevine City Jail to Tarrant County Jail earlier this morning. Grapevine Police Sergeant Gerald Walker, who made the transfer, arrested the man leaving the scene of the fiery shootout shortly after 2 a.m. Jess Stockstill, owner of the gun shop, relives the incident. Jess Stockstill is not likely to forget this night. Not anytime soon, perhaps not for the rest of his life. The final tally in total on the tote sheet: 1 dead, 1 injured, 1 man in jail, and a gun shop owner who lost $175,000 worth of guns and ammunition. The only insurance was on the building, none on the contents. But Jess says he will rebuild. Rebuild he will. Art Sinclair, Channel 8 News on the Move, Grapevine.
Supporters of House Speaker Gus Mutcher were well in control of the House of Representatives today as they created a general investigating committee and also authorized a panel of state agencies and private associations to compile facts relating to the Securities and Exchange Commission stock fraud case. Speaker Mutcher took much of the expected sting out of the debate today by declaring himself in favor of a complete investigation of the matter. However, in the debate that followed, many of those who are not supporters of the speakers indicated that they felt that a less than thorough investigation is what we will get.
Yes, to know the facts, not rumors, not innuendos, not distortions.
Several members told me that members of the Speaker's staff and even outside lobbyists worked hard all day trying to keep support for the Speaker.
And the critics of Speaker Mutcher gained no more than 1/4 of the votes on any particular vote, as they tried numerous times to put in amendments which would put more teeth into the investigation or to impose deadlines on the probe. Of the 23 Dallas and Fort Worth area representatives, only Dick Reed, Zan Holmes, and Republican Fred Acknich voted consistently for the stronger amendments. Jim Stroud voted with those three on occasion. Speaker Mutcher announced, incidentally, that the members of the investigating committee will be appointed before the Easter recess, which is just about 10 days away. This is Roger McDonald, Channel 8 News on the Move in Austin.